Just some quick housekeeping notes. You are allowed to talk if you want to talk to us when we call you over, but we will not accept vulgarities, or if we see something obscene, something like that, you will be removed from the meeting. If you put something obscene in the chat, you will be removed from the meeting. Okay, there goes Miss Watkins. Okay, so let's get started. Hi, everyone. Okay, so agenda. Hey, Stephen, can you bring up the agenda? Do you mind? Oh, wait, I don't know where Tomatis went to. So I'll do the roll call real quick. ANC 2G01, he is away. 02.
Present.
Okay. 03. Here you go, Ms. Watkins. Ms. Watkins.
I'm here.
Okay, here. 04.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, 05. Okay, Sheena's here. Okay, 06, here I am. Okay, so anything to change with the agenda, fellow commissioners?
Just one note on the numbering. We have 2 number 10s, so we should.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry about that. That was me. Sorry. Okay, anything else? No? Okay. I move to approve the agenda for February 8th, 2024 for ANC 2G with the change of the little numbers there.
Seconded.
Okay, moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Can you take that down, Steve? All right, so we have our special guest. Let's see if she's here. I see Brian Romanowski, I'm sorry. Let's bring him over. Do you see the council member? Stephen?
No, but she might be with Brian.
Brian?
No, she's not, but she should be joining in just a moment. Let me. She's logging on.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Super. And here's how it's going to go for the council member. She is going to do her presentation, and then the commissioners will ask questions, and then we'll take questions from the audience. You can, if you're on the call picture-wise, you can raise your virtual hand, and if you're on the phone, you can press *9. But just remember that you are being recorded. Does she need the link, Brian, or?
No, she says joining.
Nope, I'm not seeing her. Give her some time.
I'm not sure how long the mayor's office announcements are, but could we maybe have Grace
Yeah.
first while we're waiting for the council member?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Brian, is she not on? She's having trouble still?
I guess so.
Okay. Okay, Grace, we're going to tee you up. Go ahead, Grace.
Hi, everyone. Give me just one moment. I apologize. I'm doing this meeting from my truck as Chris and I are coming back from a fire here. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Grace Reeder, and I'm the Ward 2 liaison for the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. Recently, Mayor Bowser cut the ribbon on Stead Park Recreation Center, which is DC's first net zero ready recreation center. The new Stead Park Rec Center was built in partnership with Friends of Stead Park, a community group that donated $500,000 to fund the center's new playground facilities. As a net zero ready building, the recreation center will create more sustainable energy than it uses through geothermal wells and solar panels. Additionally, Mayor Bowser launched Be Downtown specials during her recent visit to Roasting Plant Coffee, a new innovative coffee shop in downtown DC. And the announcement was to encourage residents, workers, and visitors to explore downtown's diverse landscape of coffee shops, restaurants, and local businesses. As part of the visit, Mayor Bowser also announced that many local coffee shops and restaurants will offer Be Downtown specials throughout February and March. You can view the full list of specials at bedowntown.dc.gov. Additionally, Mayor Bowser, Chairman Mendelson, and the chair of the Committee on Transportation and Environment sent a letter to the WMATA board and General Manager Randy Clark committing to pay DC's fair share to help close the projected operating budget deficit. So I'll drop the link to the letter in the chat for you all to take a look at. Additionally, Mayor Bowser is encouraging residents to attend the Downtown Winter Hiring Event, which is on Tuesday, February 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at MLK Junior Memorial Library. And she also partnered in a announcement with the Department of Employment Services to officially launch the application period for the 2024 Mayor Marion S. Berry Summer Youth Employment Program. District youth between the ages of 14 to 24 and interested employers employers who are interested in hosting participants are encouraged to apply online at summerjobs.dc.gov. Additionally, on Sunday, February 11th at 1:30 p.m., at 6th and I Street Northwest, Mayor Bowser invites residents to join her to celebrate the Year of the Dragon for the 2024 Lunar New Year Parade. There will be colorful, diverse contingents, traditional ceremonies and performances, and a firecracker finale, and also a lot of really great restaurants to eat at while you're down there for the parade. So I hope to see you all there on Sunday. And I wish I could share more about a really exciting announcement that's coming on Monday, because I know you guys are also going to be very excited about it. But I will send out the press release on Monday to you all so you're aware of what's going on. But I think you're going to be really excited about this public safety announcement that Mayor Bowser is making on Monday.
Okay, great. So I would say one of the coffee shops is in my area, the Compass Coffee on 7th Street. So that's very exciting for 2G06.
Yep.
Commissioners,
Get a
anything
free-
quickly
oh.
for Grace? Okay, Sheena.
Hi, Grace. I have a couple of questions about the Secure DC bill. And I'm wondering about some of the policies that the mayor has seemingly supported by not speaking up. And especially the ones that disproportionately affect Black residents.
I think you went on mute there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Especially the ones that disproportionately affect Black residents and minorities. And I just want to know what her stance is on that. How is she going to protect Black residents with a lot of these policies that are now in writing that seem to not be amended during the hearing and that she has support from. I did notice that during the hearing, there was a lot of people who submitted amendments and that a lot will probably be amended in the second round of voting. But it didn't seem like it doesn't seem like there hasn't been a vocal message from the mayor in terms of the concerns of Black residents who are worried about being profiled, who are worried about the, it's just, we just feel unprotected and unheard. And I mean, if you want me to go into specifics, I can, but you let me know if you have any questions about, if you need me to ask you a particular question. I'm just really disturbed, and a lot of people are afraid because we do want to handle crime in the city, but not at the cost of our children, not at the cost of our fathers, of men, of each other being targeted, and there being no accountability and no transparency. So I would like to know if you have a message from her or some type of stance on that, because we deserve a response. We voted for her.
Yeah, definitely understand where you're coming from. So I think there's two parts. One is that there was a lot of misinformation that went out about the bill before the first vote on Tuesday. A lot of things that were just not accurate about what is contained in the bill. And I know we have Councilmember Pinto on here, who I believe is going to speak more about that bill in depth, and might be better suited to answer your questions on this. But the other thing I will add is that, you know, this is something that's a really big concern. Like, public safety is a really big concern to the mayor, as it is many of you. And one of the biggest things we saw last year was that the vast majority of people who were victims of violent crime were people of color. So this is something that is definitely taken into account when we're writing these policies. And I know it's something that was at the forefront, for the mayor when she's thinking about these issues and meeting with community members, in the same way that it was, you know, for everyone in the city, as we're talking about these issues. But I don't want to, you know, take up too much of the council members' time when I know that she's also going to be speaking about this. So I will defer to her to kind of answer the rest of those
Well,
specific questions about the legislation.
I know the council member will have her own response to particular questions, but the mayor, as the leader of the city, what is her stance? Because she did put out a statement saying something about the ecosystem of public safety in DC. Black people are part of that ecosystem. And there's been no stance on those things. A lot of things that have been dispelled, but if you were at the hearing, and I'm sure you know detail by detail the things a lot of other council members have problems with, a lot of problems that advocates and activists have problems with in the bill. You know that while there was some misinformation, there was a true information in there that certainly showed that there was a target on the backs of Black and brown people in the city. And that cannot be denied by the language, by things in here. I mean, like, we should have to find to tell police, to tell MPD not to take the DNA of someone as they're being arrested. Thank God for Councilman Duffy. What will we do? And you,
So, Commissioner Berry.
So, I'll just really quickly say, you know, this is something that is very important to our mayor, who is not only our mayor, but is also a Black woman in the city as well. So is our deputy mayor for public safety and justice, and so is our chief of police. So this is not something that, you know, they're taking lightly when they're thinking about these policies and crafting them. They're also thinking about how this impacts everyone in all 8 wards across this city. And we really feel that these policies are a way to get our city back on track, and make our city safer. Are there any other questions?
Okay. So so what we're going to do is, because the council member is waiting, Grace, if you don't mind, or does anyone have a burning question on the audience side for Grace at all? Raise your virtual hand or press star 9. It's burning. Otherwise, we're going to move on to council member Pinto. No. Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
Grace.
that works for me. And I'm going to drop everything in the chat. So if anyone has a question, you know, going forward, just let me know.
Okay. And, you know, Commissioner Berry, let's invite the mayor to our meeting. There we go. That I think would be better than the mayor, than Grace. This is the mayor. All right. So let's welcome council member Pinto to our meeting. Ward 2. Steve, want to move her over? There we go. Welcome, council member. to 2G.
Hi, thank you so much. Oh no, my camera's been doing this thing lately. Don't be alarmed. It zooms in and out without me touching it. I just saw it do it again. So don't mind that. But thank you so much for having me. It's great to be with you all, 2G. I know that we don't have a lot of time, and so I'll give kind of a brief update on what's going on with public safety, downtown, and WMATA, and then want to make sure mostly we have time for questions from folks. So first and foremost, as you all know, I am now the chair of the Council's Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety. And so I've been working really all year on ways that we can improve our public safety system in DC, recognizing that because we're not a state yet, we have a very complicated bifurcated system. And so partnership with our federal government is really, really important here. And so I spent the year doing a lot of listening, going to meetings in all 8 wards, meeting with people at all different times of day, night, weekday, weekend, all different formats to try to be as accessible as possible to a lot of different perspectives. And I introduced the first day of the legislative session this fall, 12 pieces of legislation. It's part of a public safety plan. And I had hearings on all of those bills almost every week of the fall, as well as Mayor Bowser introduced 2 public safety bills that we also had hearings on. And in January, I combined the best components of all of those bills with a lot of incorporated feedback and changes and ideas and adjustments into one big omnibus package called Secure DC that we voted as a council unanimously to pass on Tuesday. And so we're really excited about it. Secure DC makes over 100 different interventions to improve public safety. I won't go through all of those, of course, but there are 3 primary categories that we focused on when it came to this legislation. The first is how to prevent crime. The second is how to improve accountability when crime does happen. And the third is how to improve government coordination and oversight for our agencies that are doing this important work. And so some of the prevention pieces include grants for our commercial corridors. As you all know, Shaw was one of the recipients of the pilot program that I started last year's budget. Those funds should be out soon, hopefully later this month. But this expands to all commercial corridors in the city, not just for Shaw and downtown and Adams Morgan. Creating a blue light pilot. So if you're alone waiting in a bus stop late at night, you will be able to tap blue light for a first responder to come immediately, and the incident will be captured on camera. Creating a hospitality training program at our DC jail so that when folks come home, they have additional skills and resources to be employed and to re-enter our communities safely and effectively. And that includes requirements for partnerships with employers before people get out, so that we're setting people up for success. When it comes to accountability, there are a number of different pieces. Here, things like new firearm offenses. We have unacceptable proliferation of illegal weapons in our city, and a out of control level of shootings, and making sure that our prosecutors have the tools they need to bring effective cases for gun violence. Or changing things like the definition of carjacking to address what I would call a misinterpretation of the DC Court of Appeals that has interpreted carjacking so narrowly that it's not really accounting for the reality of the trauma that carjacking is placing on victims. So that will help with prosecution of those crimes. And then with government coordination, there's a number of different data components here, improvements at our 911 call center, so that when DC residents call 911, you can have a fast and accurate, expeditious response as everyone deserves. Additional supports for victims, tracing of firearms so we can see where all of these weapons are coming from and what we're doing about it. And so the second vote on that bill will be on March 5th. And you know, of course, not one bill is not going to solve all crime in the city, but I think that taken as a whole in its totality, Secure DC is going to improve public safety in our city And I'm very eager to get it passed and finalized, and want to thank the many of you who have been involved in this process. That has been a long and thorough one as we've gotten to this point. In terms of downtown, we had some really bad news recently that Monumental Sports wants to move the Capitals and the Wizards to Northern Virginia. I don't think there's any way of getting around it, that is bad news, that is not a good plan for us, that downtown should be the home of our sports teams, and it's really important for district pride. It's important for fans, the players, but it's also really important for economic development for the entire Chinatown and Gallery Place neighborhood and for downtown. And so I am working hard both to make sure that the environment around the arena is, we can be the best partners we can be as a city for Monumental Sports, and hopefully get it to hopefully convince them to stay. The Virginia process is still very long and drawn out, and nothing is a sure thing there. And so we're trying to position ourselves in the district as strong as we can, simultaneously working with the mayor's task force on Chinatown Gallery Place on immediate ways to stabilize the area, and also a longer term vision that's much more vibrant and inclusive and includes more residents, both to live there and to visit there, and have it be safer to walk and bike and drive through the area. And so I'm very excited about that work, and I invite you all to be a part of the work. I know many of you live very close to downtown or work downtown, and it's important to not just the immediate area, but for our whole city to have a thriving downtown. And so I would love you all to be partners in that work if you have ideas as well. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight the WMATA, excuse me, long day, the WMATA budget cliff that we are facing in the city. That would be absolutely unacceptable and devastating. We need to have a full service transit system that is fully funded, and we have been working very hard with our neighboring jurisdictions to make sure that they are also paying into this budget shortfall, as the district will. And so we will keep this funding as a top priority for the district, and we know how important it is for riders to have reliable and consistent and affordable transit. And so we will do everything we can to prevent us from going over that fiscal cliff. So I want to stop there so I can make sure to have time to answer your questions. I was supposed to be off of here at 7 to get to something else, but I told them I'd be a little late, so I can stay until 7:15. I just wanted to flag that now, but thank you again for having me, and look forward to your questions and your continued partnership.
Okay, commissioners will go first and then the audience. I'll be very brief. So as you know, our hearing against the permit for 501 New York Avenue, the jail, is coming up March 13th. So my question is for you, because I know that you are not opposed to the jail coming. Would you be willing to sign the petition against the permit? That is my question for you.
So, I'm sorry, the camera's doing the thing again. I have not seen the petition against the permit. I'd be happy to take a look at it. As you know, Chair Nigro, one of my concerns is that the conditions at the central cell block are absolutely unacceptable. And so renovations have to take place there. During those renovations, there needs to be a temporary placement of central cell block. And so part of the deal, when I was made aware at the same time that you all were made aware that the mayor and the city administrator had planned to put this temporary location at 501 New York Avenue, was there have to be some conditions tied to this to make sure that it is as least disruptive as possible to the neighborhood. One, there needs to be soundproofing for 501 New York Avenue. And two, nobody could be released from the site. Anybody who is kind of slept over or was held there would need to be taken back to the courthouse before they are released. Both of those conditions have been signed and agreed to in writing by the city administrator. That does not mean it's over. I will not support any project that is not absolutely sure it will be temporary, and that requires the full funding to be placed in the budget. So that's kind of where my analysis is right now as I think about the permit is I will not support a permit unless there is confirmation that funding is included in the budget for central cell block and that it will be moved expeditiously. So the temporary move would be only 18 months. If those
Okay.
conditions are not met, then I will not support the permit.
Okay, well, I'll send it to you. The permit's about the zoning. They provide their own zoning procedures. That's what it's about. But that's it. As I say very publicly, if I would have listened to any conditions done in MOU or would have stood down many months ago, we literally would not be having this hearing in March. This hearing is the first step to stopping this project. So that's it. I'll send it to you. I have an online petition and a paper petition. So there you go. Okay, commissioners, who's next? Who wants to go next?
I do.
Okay,
All right.
keep it tight, keep it tight.
Okay. As you know, I am definitely not in supportive of Secure DC bill as it stands. There needs to be some adjustments to it. I just have a couple of questions of how these conditions, these policies in your bill can help prevent or secure DC. And the first one is brief neck restraints by police. The dangerous creation of drug-free zones when it's already illegal to have drugs in the city. The hiding of ID of police officers under investigation. If you could highlight or maybe shed some light onto how this prevents and secures DC, I would like to know that.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Commissioner. And again, I'm sorry about this Zoom situation. So I believe that every item in Secure DC is important. So when it comes to neck restraints, this is another one that there's been a lot of misinformation about, but any language about the brief incidental touching of neck is not in Secure DC. Secure DC moves the word movement from what is automatically prohibited. And that's because chokeholds have been banned in the district since 1985. They should absolutely still be banned. Mayor Bowser had a version in Act Now that also permitted things that had brief limitations on asphyxiation. I took all of that out. People should not be choked. People should not have restrictions in their airways, period. What we were seeing, because the policy was so broad that restricted any movement, was that there were a number of cases where an officer would, in the course of an arrest, be, let's say, holding someone's arms down who was fighting something. That would be considered a restriction of movement. That officer was undisciplined. There was a woman who was in serious distress and was thrashing her head against the back of a wall. I've seen this video many, many times. She would have knocked herself out. The officer, what I would define as care and compassion, put his hand on the back of her neck to prevent her from knocking herself out. That officer was under discipline for that, which undermined that case that he was there for, but also all other cases that he was testifying at, because the first question a judge asks is, are you under any discipline? And so our goal with this was to make sure that chokeholds were absolutely continue to be banned and not automatically prohibit an officer from doing something that restricts just movement, because there are some cases where somebody is resisting arrest or providing a danger to themselves or the public or the officer, that officer needs to be able to restrain that individual, sometimes with handcuffs, which is considered restriction of a movement if anything was touched kind of anywhere in this area. So that's what that provision is about. The drug-free zones, yes, it is illegal to do drugs in the district. We have a few hotspots in the city, not that many, but a few areas where there is repeated criminal activity going on a daily basis. Drugs, weapon sales. Many of these locations have also been the sites of multiple homicides. And there are people congregating in these areas for the purpose of breaking the law. And this provision says there's notice provided, there's signs that go up for a period of 5 days. The area will be 1,000 square feet. And for that period of 5 days, people cannot congregate for the purposes of violating the law. We made crystal clear in the committee report that notice has to be provided to the public, to mental health agencies, social support agencies in the area, as well as the director of Department of Behavioral Health, council members, so I can communicate it with the public as well. And clarification that nobody can be disrupted if they are, waiting at a bus stop, or they're going home, or they're not breaking the law. So this is a very narrow tool to kind of disperse activity, and used most effectively, it is just that. It's to disperse activity that is police have been really unable or not doing much about in these certain areas, which is really not fair to residents who live by these areas either. And this is an opportunity to reclaim public space. There's one specific area I'm thinking about as well that's right by a school, that parents in trying to walk their kids to school are literally stepping over needles and weapons and people passed out on the street. That's not acceptable. So we have to handle that. And then the third piece about investigations. So I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, maybe the adverse action hearing names. Is that
Hiding
right?
the police officers under investigation
Sorry, can you say that again?
is not known to the public. It's not transparent. The public does not have access to that. Yes. Anymore.
Okay.
Rolling
So-
back things from 2020 that got passed.
Okay, so the public will absolutely have access to adverse action hearings.
I wasn't asking about hearings, that hiding the ID of the police officers who are under investigation.
Okay, so Secure DC does take out the names of officers when allegations are just allegations until they're sustained. That I think is a fair balance of making sure that the public has access to what is going on, but that we're also balancing employment rights. We don't provide an allegation public notice for any other agency. And so this was an attempt to kind of get that balance right. I also do want to note that Congress passed on Tuesday a complete prohibition of our adverse action hearing process. So I know some people don't like it when I talk about the reality that Congress is looking over our shoulder for some things, but the truth is we are not alone in this in the district. And so we have to take into account the fact that we also have Congress who is trying to get rid of a lot of the reforms that we're working on. And so this was also an attempt to have a balance of the public knowing about these hearings, being able to follow along, being able to go to the hearing if you'd like, but we don't have to publish the name of the officer until there's a sustained allegation, meaning the adjudicatory body determined that wrongdoing happened. And so that's kind of where we came out on that balance as well.
All right, any other commissioner? Alex?
Thank you, Councilmember, for being with us this evening. I wanted to congratulate you on getting the first reading through on Secure DC. And I was very gratified, as many of my neighbors and constituents are as well, that the drug-free zones provision was maintained. They testified at your hearing on the predecessor bill. In my opinion, that is the most important element that we've been missing in recent years in order to try to get the out of control drug activities that we have in areas in Shaw, such as 7th and T, back under control. When you see blatant drug activity 24/7, you've got to do something. And in the past, those drug-free zones were an important tool for NPD to be able to get that type of activity under control. So thank you for standing up to those that might resist that particular provision.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
All right, and Commissioner McCarty?
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you for being here, Councilmember Pinto. I have one question about the pre-trial detention materials included in the bill. First, I do want to say I'm grateful that the council has already taken steps to amend that portion of the bill. I don't agree with the pre-trial detention, but I'm glad that amendment was made to sunset that after 225 days. As one of our members of the panel this evening commented, everyone should be proven they're innocent until proven guilty. So I just want to know, that was sunsetted with the clause that there would be a police report into the effects and impact of that. So I'm looking to understand what key factors you'll be asking for in a report on the pre-trial detention clause, and what are the non-negotiables. So like, what are you going to draw the line to, depending on what research comes out of that?
Well, thank you so much for that question. So this is part of what we passed this summer in the emergency bill. And it's because it's extremely rare and difficult to hold somebody in DC pretrial. We were seeing this even in cases of second or third violent offenses. And so when I looked at how difficult it was and the cases that we were seeing of people coming back to community and reoffending, I knew that we had to revisit how we structured the presumption. Not for mandatory, but to give judges more discretion, which under our previous system, they had very little, if any, discretion to hold somebody, even for the most violent offenses. And so we changed the presumption to that only for our most violent crimes. So these are things like homicides, arson, terrorism, that the presumption is that you're held pretrial. But that presumption can be overcome if you can prove that you're not a danger to the community or that you're not a flight risk. So in practice, when it's someone's first offense, that presumption is often overcome. But we have seen since the passage of that bill this summer, a couple of things that we're looking at. One is in the 30 days right before passage of the emergency bill and the 30 days right after, as well as the 60 days before and 60 days after, we saw reductions in violent crime of about 26%. Now, I want to be very clear because violent crime was up over the course of the year. But in that period, right after the bill versus right before the bill, we saw reductions. That was one indicator. Another indicator is we had at least 2 cases of people who committed homicides that were held under this presumption that wouldn't have been able to be held but for it. And when I speak to victims across the city and they tell me how traumatizing it is when there was one woman in particular whose story really stuck with me, that she saw and knew the person who killed her brother and then had to see him the next day in her neighborhood and in her community. That's extremely traumatizing too. And so, like all things, it's a balance, but it's why I think the presumption to be switched to be held pretrial for the most violent offenses is important. In terms of other metrics that we're looking at, one of the things that I was concerned with the amendment that Councilor McDuffie moved is there was no information about what metrics to look at. So it just said a study, but we can't write the law that way. We have to say in the law what we're requiring in the study. And so that's going to be something that I'll have to amend to clarify what he was looking for. One of the things that I'd be looking for were, but for this intervention, what would have happened? It's always hard to prove that a crime would have happened without something that's hard to measure. Another thing that we look at is population in the jail, and if that has gone up and for what cases it's gone up. And then another thing we look at is people who are released and have overcome the presumption and if they've gone on to reoffend.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Thank you. Ms. Watkins, do you have a question or can I move on to the audience?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay. And Bernard, Bernard, I saw your hand up, but you put your hand down. Okay, Bernard's lost his place there. So did the other people in a minute. Okay, Rotary Club. I'm gonna unmute you here. Go ahead, Rotary Club.
Hello, thank you. Howard Garrett, Ward 2, DC Young Dems. I have a question. Thank you, Councilmember Pinto, for coming. Thank you guys for holding this opportunity to ask questions. So my question, one main question with 2 points behind it, but what's next? We know the bill is likely to pass. And the first point is, what are we going to do to hold our agencies accountable to ensure that accountability is going to move forward. Because as we know, data came out yesterday to show that the MPD arrest per officer is down. The crime lab is down. Well, with the two recent portions of it coming back online. And then finally, the U.S. Office of Attorney, USAO, is not convicting people. That percentage is down as well. So what are we going to do? We can enhance penalties. We can arrest people all we want to, but until these agencies are doing what they're supposed to do and provide accountability for them, then we're never going to get out of this reoccurring cycle. And the second question I have is, what are we doing for our young people as for an opportunity? I truly believe that in order for us to achieve accountability, it has to intersect with opportunity. Our young people are not going to school. What are we going to do to ensure that our agencies are holding our young people accountable because the truancy rate is up? What are we doing to making sure that our after-school programs are effective to meet the needs of our young people, our family, have the resources that they need to provide for their families, but also provide the attention that our young people are so desperately crying out for. And yes, I truly believe in accountability. However, we must not forget that we have to also look at the position of the perpetrator and understanding where they're coming from and what may lead up to their position to make such decisions that are going to affect the rest of their life. I think the city needs to do better at being proactive instead of
Mr. Rotary
reactive.
Club, she's got to answer your question, okay? We have a limited time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Howard. I appreciate both of those points. So in terms of agency oversight, absolutely, this is a huge component of Secure DC. There are dozens and dozens of interventions that improve agency oversight across our ecosystem. So whether that's 911 call center and creating a public dashboard to share incidents, to share mistakes, call to answer time, call to dispatch time. We're working on with OUC at a performance oversight hearing with them today on sharing public reports following all of their investigations of when errors happened. With MPD, making sure that they are held accountable, whether that is for incidents that they are involved with serious use of force, or with other investigations into MPD. That's also a part of Secure DC. And with the U.S. Attorney's Office, we have a interesting relationship with the U.S. Attorney because they are federal prosecutor handling our local crimes. And that's why I partnered very closely with the U.S. Attorney's Office in the development of Secure DC to figure out why those rates are so low. So when they share with me cases and cases of examples where if we had been like the vast majority of states in the United States that analyze DNA evidence, we would have proven those cases and they would have been successful. Other states and countries that have an expanded DNA database have seen reductions of recidivism of 42%. So to me, that is a sensible, common sense intervention that's working directly with our prosecutors to drive crime down. I was disappointed that that came out, but I'm going to work to get it back in. When I talked to our prosecutors about cases they were unsuccessful with of carjacking, or people held people up at gunpoint right outside their car and they weren't being able to brought us carjacking cases because of interpretation issues. Those cases were brought as unauthorized use of a vehicle, which were led to 0 jail time. Completely 0. So this is not talking about 50-year sentences or locking people up for decades and decades. This is talking about the difference between 0 years and some accountability, 0 days in many cases and some accountability. But agency oversight is a big piece of what we do, both in Secure DC and what I do every day on the council. And then in terms of opportunities for young people, I 100% agree with you. That is the absolute best case scenario. Secure DC really sought to deal with agencies that I have jurisdiction over with the Judiciary Committee. So those are your more traditional public safety agencies, MPD, One's Office, Office of Attorney General, the courts, U.S. Attorney, Fire and EMS. These are the OUC. These are the agencies that I focused on. but the work absolutely continues with making sure that young people have access to opportunities. Every year I've been on the council, I have fought to quadruple the out of school time programming funding. I'm working now on increased transportation options for young people who tell me that they don't feel safe getting from school to out of school time issues. But we're trying to, with this bill, stop the bleeding, so to speak. I speak to young people who tell me, one young man told me just 2 weeks ago that he was at school and a person who had carjacked someone the night before was bragging to him and his friends that you should do it too, nothing will happen to you. And so it's not about over penalizing people, it's about making very clear that you cannot break the law, you cannot traumatize our community, and we need to right size that system here. And we also need to absolutely be investing in our young people, in all of our residents, and especially vulnerable residents, to make sure that they have access to opportunity. And that work has been kind of consistent, that I've been focused on over the last several years, and going to be a big priority in this year's budget.
All right, council member, do you have time for one more question, or do you have to zoom off?
Sure, of course, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Hunt, we're gonna move you over here. Go ahead, Mr. Hunt.
Cool. Thanks. Don't worry, mine will be quick. I was just saying thanks to everyone here for volunteering as the ANC and Councilwoman Pinto, and thank you for being the only council member that I feel actually cares. So thanks for the work you do. I live in 2G01. That's all.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff, for your gracious comment. And I'll add my thanks to all of our wonderful ANC commissioners who are here, and for all of your hard work and service. And if I can, Chair, I just wanted to comment on one other piece of Secure, if I can, because I don't, it's impossible to respond to all the misinformation that's been out there. But I do want to just comment on one piece that is very worrisome to me, and I want to make sure everyone is crystal clear that this is not what this is doing. There were some very inaccurate and upsetting posts going around, articles saying that we were outlawing hijabs. And that is absolutely not true. It will never be true under anything that I am supporting or advocating for. It is absolutely legal to wear a religious headscarf, to wear a mask of any kind in the city. What Secure DC will make sure of is that you cannot wear a mask for the purpose and intent of intimidating, harassing, or attacking somebody. And that's really important, because we keep seeing so many of our violent cases being done with a full face covering, which is preventing law enforcement from proving these cases. So that's what Secure DC does. But I just wanted to make crystal clear for anybody who had concerns about that, or who had seen that, or to make sure that is spread to our entire neighborhood and community, that I don't want anybody to be under the impression that the city is doing something like that, because that would be absolutely harmful, outrageous, unacceptable, and I would never support that.
Okay. All right. Well, we thank you for your time, and you are certainly welcome back anytime if you want to zoom in and answer questions from us.
Okay, great.
In the
Look forward
community.
to next time. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right. Good to see her. All right, so let's have the police report here. We have Lieutenant Tar. Commissioner Picard is going to move you over, Lieutenant.
I'm clicking promote to
Oh, I
panelist.
got, yeah. Let's see. There he is. Hi, Lieutenant. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Lieutenant.
Hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Did you hear anything I said?
No. Go ahead, start over.
Talking to myself, sitting here talking to myself. So I'm Lieutenant Tar. I'm filling in for Lieutenant Herring, who has PSA 308 but I'm in PSA 307, which is the other half of 2G, so also relevant. Just to go over some of the, I'm not going to bore you all with stats, but I'll go over some of the high points of what happened in the last month. There were 3 robberies in the last month in 2G, not 307, 308 in a whole, just in the area that encompasses by 2G. There was a robbery at 626 S Street on the 24th of January, about 10 o'clock at night. That was a robbery involved in one of the high-end coats, the Canada Goose, those kind of jackets that they've been robbing people for. Had a second robbery, 515 Q Street Northwest on the 31st of January around right around noon. This is armed carjacking, actually. There was a Jaguar sedan taken in that one. That car, I don't believe we recovered yet, and that case is still open. And then had another robbery, 600 P Street Northwest, on the 3rd of February around 1830 hours, and that is also open. So far in the last 3 days, there were 4 motor vehicle thefts reported and 9 theft from autos. As far as the stats, year to date, crime overall is down 14%, down 12%. In the last 30 days, it's down 14%. But the violent crime's up around 25 the last month and year to date. So that's all a concern, obviously. But that's for 308 and 307 as a whole, not just including 2G, because the stats don't break down that way. So since I'm filling in, I don't have a whole lot prepared. I kind of had to figure some stuff out on the fly here. So if anybody got any questions, I'll feel free to ask, and I can answer them as best I can.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for the lieutenant? Oh, Ms. Watkins?
Lieutenant Tar.
Hello.
Most recently, there was an incident in the 1400 block of 5th Street where one of the residents, somebody had trespassed or had jumped over the fence from the soccer field to supposedly get a ball. The ball was never found in the field. In fact, I watched the video and there was no ball. And the young man who jumped over the fence, and this isn't the first time, was rude. The other players was kind of like harassing and threatening to the owner, the resident, as well as her guests of the home. They even made a statement that, well, call the police because they're going to tell you I'm just coming to get my ball, or I'm just trespassing to get a ball. And that was the stance. Maybe about 30, 40 minutes later, the police officer did come, and that was the stance that they've taken in terms of these people jumping over the residents' fences to get their balls. How are you addressing their concerns? Because, I'm personally, for somebody to jump over a fence, and I'm a woman, and I hear somebody in my backyard, that could turn into something much more than an argument or a disagreement. So what are you doing in terms of the residents? What are your officers going to do to help this, to rectify this?
So in this situation, now jumping over someone's fence is obviously an issue. I'm not going to say it's not. If the intent is to get a ball out of the backyard, I don't think this is arresting them as the way out of this. It's something that can be mediated by the police. Now, they shouldn't be telling them that, oh, they're just getting the ball and it's okay, because you shouldn't be entering someone's property without permission, or regardless of your reasoning for doing it. Now, being that I haven't heard about this issue before. So that's something I pass on Lieutenant Harry and the officers in that area to be more cognizant of it and maybe more empathetic to the people who are having this happen to them. Is this from the soccer field? Is that where this is happening at?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I just want to get a
it
sense
is.
of where it was actually happening at.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is escalated so badly. And I'm afraid that it's going to get worse if something isn't done. If the officers just walk up and say, "Oh, they're just getting their ball," it means to me that they're so unconcerned about it. Not even giving them a ticket. Not just nonchalantly, not having this. Don't care. It's not
Right.
that important attitude. And it's not that important until something happens, until it escalates further. And so we're trying to avoid that. I mean, I understand you're going to pass it on to Lieutenant Herring, but I'm just trying to see if y'all have come up with any kind of solutions on how to address this.
So, I mean, I haven't come with any solutions. This is the first time I've heard of it. I haven't heard of any of these issues before. I've been focused on PSA 307 because that's my primary focus as far as the management of the officers. Although I do have the entire district to worry about, but that's been my main focus. So I don't get the community issues as much as Lieutenant Herring would have, or Lieutenant Romeo before him. So this is the first I'm hearing of this issue. So I don't really have a plan to put forth because I haven't dealt with this issue before. Now, they shouldn't be dismissive of it because they are going on people's property, and that is an issue. And it can, as you said, it can end up escalating into something it shouldn't. Unfortunately, a ticket, our options in that scenario are arrest, or we advise them to not do it anymore. We really don't have any mid ground there. It's either we arrest or we try to mediate the situation and try to keep it in a civil way from turning into anything worse. But the arresting is pretty much our only enforcement option in that scenario. And if their intent isn't to commit any crime, it's hard for us to prove the unlawful entry, although it's pretty basic. You just went on someone else's property, but we have to take into account what they were really doing also.
So let me also just add that Bundy Field soccer field exhausts me. I have been however many years I've been commissioner. That whatever it's KIP, DPR, DGS, I don't care. It is a problem. So I think Ms. Watkins, we have to get the entities together, include the police, because it has gone on too long with that field.
Definitely.
Am I right?
It has exhausted me just reading all of the emails for the past few years.
All right, so Lieutenant, we'll reach out about it.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner for the lieutenant? No? Alex, no? Nothing? Okay. All right, anyone from the audience have a question for Lieutenant Tar from 3D? Raise your little virtual hand or press *9 if you're on the phone. Here's your opportunity. No? Okay. All right, Lieutenant.
All right. Thank you. You have a good night.
Thank you for participating. And then, Brian, you want to say something about? Oh, Brian wants to say. We're going to unmute Brian. I'm going to allow you to talk, Brian. Go ahead.
Hey,
Brian.
thanks. I just wanted to add a quick note about the Bundy situation. So it's also frustrated me. I go to Bundy with my dog every day, so I'm always there and I see all these issues. KIP is adding the additional netting, taller netting on both sides of the field. The issue with the netting was that it's behind the two goals when there's full field of soccer is being played, but almost all the time it's half field games that are being played. So the goals are positioned in front of people's garage doors, like facing that, so that the balls go over and into their yards. So that is where the additional netting was needed. I'm very thankful that KIP is adding that. Jock Patterson is their representative. You may know him because he's also on this State Board of Education. So he reached out to the residents. The netting has been ordered. It's hopefully going up soon on both sides of the soccer field. And then we're working with DGS and DPR and KIP to try to figure out a better management system right now, because it, like you said, yes, it's not been managed well at all. They're reviewing the permits for the team that was involved in, or the league that was involved in the altercation that Commissioner Watkins mentioned. And then I just will add my own advice because I saw the videos of this incident. I definitely just call the police and do not engage with people that are, in your yard. I think they were interacting a lot. I don't think it will ever go well. So really, for your own safety, try to stay inside and call the police, even if they do take a long time to respond. You just never know what people are capable of. So really, yeah, just want to add that caution. Thanks.
So one last thing, because when Ms. Watkins sent that email this week, I thought my head was going to pop right off. Someone has got to take ownership of it. I don't care. It's got to be Kip. Whoever the lead is it Kip? I don't know at this point. It's been back and forth for 10 years. I mean, get some project management together and take ownership of the problem, for Pete's sake. It's ridiculous at this point. Stupid. All right. Anyone else? Okay, no. All right. So we're going to do community announcements now. I have an announcement. So the MCCDC Church is doing a spiritual colloquium. I would say that wrong, on March 9th. And I'm going to post it on social media and all that, but it should be great. It's from 1 to 6 p.m. And it's all about gun violence, more than thoughts and prayers. The lineup should be pretty good. So I'll put the information in the chat, and I'll post on social media. Commissioners, any announcements? Okay, Commissioner Berry.
Next Tuesday, the Transportation Advisory Committee will be meeting at 6:30. So I'll send that notice out. I'll also post it on social media in case anyone here is interested. I've been working with our representative from DDOT, Christoph Wasmer, and he's been very helpful in helping me get a lot of things accomplished. So if you're interested in transportation and public safety in ANC 2G, please come to this meeting.
Great. Anything else, commissioners? No, that's okay. Any announcements from the audience? Raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're on the phone. You want to make an announcement about an activity? No. Oh, there's someone. Oh, you want to go now? Vince, we had a whole section for you. So let's go early. Okay, so Alonso, Events DC. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Solana Vandernet. I am the Senior Manager of Community Engagement for the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. I'm happy to serve as a connection point between you and Events DC. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'll put my contact information in the chat. As a reminder, to learn more about Events DC, our programs, initiatives, and other opportunities, visit eventsdc.com. If you haven't already done so, please sign up for our electronic mailing list and follow us on our social media platforms at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'll put this information in the chat as well. Regarding our February event calendar, for the rest of this month, we have 7 upcoming events at the Convention Center, 2 single day and 5 multi-days. I would like to highlight 2 events. Next weekend, Saturday, February 17th through Monday, February 19th, the 2024 Capitol Hill Volleyball Classic will be held at the Convention Center with an estimated attendance of 37,000. This is the largest event of the month, and a traffic advisory was distributed this morning providing further details. I'll include that link as well in the chat. Then on Saturday, February 24th through Sunday, February 25th, the 2024 Travel and Adventure Show will be with us with an estimated attendance of 10,000. We are excited to bring back our Embassy Chef Challenge. This year, it will be held at Union Station on Thursday, March 7th, beginning at 6:00 p.m. Tickets are now available to purchase at eventsdc.com. Embassy chefs from around the world will showcase the unique flavors of their home countries in a friendly, delicious culinary competition. Travel the world with your taste buds at the ultimate celebration of global food and drink. Also, for the first time ever, Events DC will host the Women's CAA Basketball Tournament on March 13th through the 17th. Be on the lookout for single session tickets for the Coastal Athletic Association's women's and men's basketball tournaments at Entertainment and Sports Arena. The men's tournament will run from March 8th through the 12th, and tickets will be available in the near future at eventsdc.com. Thank you for letting me join this call. Please let me know if you have any questions.
So I have a statement. So the volleyball event, which you know is a big deal, a lot of local, can you put it out to the organizers to be respectful and to park, not, you know, follow the rules, okay, with parking, that we are not the parking lot for the convention center. This is a nightmare weekend with cars and all that type. They need to, if they're gonna be in the center for a long time, you know what, guess what? You got to pay for parking. 2G06 is not the convention center's parking lot. Thanks. That's a new statement, right? So,
Yeah.
anything else? No, commissioners? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Alex.
So on previous meetings, commissioners have raised the issue of the kiosk tenants, the retail tenants that have not been able to occupy their spaces. You said that you were going to be checking into this and getting back to us with the status. I met with one of the business owners earlier this week who was telling me the very sad tale about the 2 years that have gone by since she signed a lease and still isn't able to move in because apartment buildings is not going to allow them to occupy their space until they have bathrooms. So do you have an update, or is there a resolution, or are those leases going to be terminated?
So as far as what my update is regarding that, is Events DC is helping the retail tenants respond to comments from DOH about the employee restroom access, and I believe that's what she is referring to. And then we're just working to determine which restrooms within the building, meet DOH requirements. So again, that is ongoing, but everybody is aware of the situation and then working with DOH to make it happen.
So what you're saying is that DOH is going to allow sign off on businesses that don't have bathrooms opening in those kiosks.
What I'm saying is our strategic initiatives team is working with DOH to figure out how to move forward with this bathroom requirements that is being discussed.
So I have a question, because we have pizza, coffee, and a acai bowl, right? Acai bowl place. Why don't y'all know this by now? You are a large entity. Why is this not, either it's good, bad, however, why is this not resolved by now? You are Events DC.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I work with community engagement. I can follow up again with the strategic initiatives team as far as if there's any further updates, but that's what I have as of today.
If this is how it's going to be, because I know because I talked to them too about the whole, I mentioned it before about the bathrooms and all, it's crazy. You're event planners. How could this not have been known prior? I don't understand. It's beyond me at this point. I just don't get it. See, they should listen to my idea, the micro bar, but they didn't. So here's what we get. So if you could next time, even before next month, get an answer, because this is insane. This is now how many years, Alex? 2 years? Year and a half?
That particular tenant was saying that she signed a lease 2 years ago.
Yeah. I felt, is it Coffee Lady? Well, either one. They're all the same. They're pizza, coffee, I see. They're on the same boat, so. Okay, well, great. We look forward to an answer.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, any comments from the audience for Events DC? No? Okay. All right. Okay, great. I think we're all set then. For anyone else from community announcements from the other side? Raise your hand. If not, we're going to move on. No? Okay, great. Okay, so we have 933 N Street. This is for request for support for Historic Preservation Review Board. This is in Commissioner McCarty's area. It's all about Commissioner McCarty for our voting tonight. Who is here?
Thanks, Commissioner Nigro. I just moved over Jenny Crawford.
There she is. Yep.
The design firm that submitted the HPRB application for 933 N Street. So thank you, Commissioner Nigro, for turning it over. I will let Jenny Crawford present on the concept briefly, again, for everybody at the call. But I will note that I've received overwhelming letters of support for the project, which I will read into the record. Some of those as soon as Jenny is finished with her presentation, but I will also add that we were hosted by Selu last week, where we had over about 20 constituents come by, express their support for the project overall. Jenny's firm has done a fantastic job at community outreach, engagement, and working on incorporating feedback in earnest. So I'm excited for them to share what they've been working on with the group here and ask the commission for support.
Thank you so much, Stephen. That's a wonderful introduction. And I want to say thank you to the ANC for giving us the opportunity to present to you tonight. As he mentioned, I'm Jenny Crawford. I'm a project manager for ADG+G, the architects for this project. We are here tonight to ask for the ANC support for our project when we present to Historic Preservation Review Board. We met with the ANC this weekend and we felt like it was a very productive meeting. We wanted to thank the neighbors and the ANC for being so generous with your time. And I gotta say, I really love the bread that we got. So I'm not objecting to coming back. The project we're asking for support on today is a subdivision of the current Henrietta lot into 2 separate lots and the development of a 2-unit building on this new lot, which is currently an empty side yard to Henrietta.
Hey, Jenny, if you have a presentation, you can go ahead and share if you'd like, okay?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I forgot to do that. Okay, screen 2. Let me see. Please let me know if you can see.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, good deal. This is the building that we're proposing. This is the existing Henrietta building and our neighbor at 937 N Street. I'm sorry, let me fix my screen. This project is located on the north block of N Street, northwest between 9th and 10th, and we are backing to the historic Naylor Court. This exhibit on screen now contains the original plat map for DC from Based Real Estate Atlas. We have records going back to 1903 showing the lots as actually 2 separate lots. Henrietta was built in 1900 and currently contains 39 condo units. At the time of Henrietta's construction, the neighboring lot, number 16, was separate. And at some point in the 80s, the lots were combined into one. And lot 16 instead became a vacant side yard to the Henrietta. On the left, we can see the existing plat as it stands now for lot 81, with the old lot 16 combined with Henrietta's old lot number 74 to create the current lot 81. On the right is our proposed subdivision. This new lot will extend from the side wall of Henrietta to the neighboring property 937 N Street and will be approximately 23'10" wide. The lot subdivision jogs in the back to 18 feet wide, which meets the minimum subdivision requirements in DC. And this creates an open court on the Henrietta's lot. The minimum size for a court for the Henrietta, due to its extreme height, is actually 13 feet wide. And we intend to ask the BZA for relief on the minimum width to reduce the requirement from 13 feet to 10 feet. This slide shows photos of the existing conditions, including the existing transformer, number 4, on the side of Henrietta, sorry, as well as the overlapping cornice from 937 N Street, which extends over our property line. The current empty lot collects trash and debris. It's been a gathering place, according to many neighbors, for late night parties and illegal activity, and has contributed to the ongoing rat problem in the community. During our community outreach and ongoing discussion with historic preservation, we have come up with some updated solutions, which we wish to present at the end. Those won't be reflected in the next couple of slides. We have updated slides at the end. This slide shows photos from the very lovely Naylor Court in the morning for context. This is our project site. Another view looking at our project site and the 937th N Street's garage entrance to their lot, and then the cross street and going down the other way. Here we're showing our proposed site plan, which sets our building back 18 feet from the face of Henrietta and aligns our new building with the face of 937 N Street. This allows us to keep the existing transformer in place and does not block light and air on the neighboring properties at 937 and 935 N Street. This also creates a single-family community of 3 houses, bracketed between the Henrietta and Atlantic apartment buildings. One thing to note is that with this subdivision, we would be granting our new lot an easement for the transformer, and this easement would not affect any other property in the neighborhood. Here we're showing our proposed design for the new home. Again, note that this floor plans are the old ones that were presented last week, and we have updated plans at the end that incorporate community comments and concerns. This building has a full cellar level with 3 stories above grade in the front and 2 stories above grade in the back with rooftop terraces. Here we're showing how the new building would be divided into 2 units in section. One separate unit is red, one separate unit is blue. They kind of fit together like a puzzle. The slide shows elevation and perspective views of our proposed building on the front, back, and sides, and then 3D perspective views of our building. And one thing to note here is that part of our work incorporating comments and coordinating with historic preservation is that we've updated these views to more accurately reflect the neighboring building, the extent of the neighbor building cornice, and its historic detail. On this slide, we have updated 3D renderings showing our project, this sliver of red brick on this side, and also showing the neighboring building at 937 N Street more accurately in the gray and black colors as it exists. This slide shows the existing cornice of the neighboring building, and what we intend to do is to preserve that cornice as much as possible and shave it only in the back so that the face of our building can align with the face of 937 N Street. That was the end of our official slides from before. The next 2 slides are the new slides we wanted to present to show our updated design. As discussed at our meeting on Saturday, there was a lot of concern about how trash for this building would be handled. And what we did was we revised our parking garage for the building to widen the garage door to make it easier for a car to be able to pull in. There's only 1 man door now for this parking garage. And then it would be an open parking garage for both units, and then trash for both units would be stored inside the parking garage. The other thing that I wanted to show was the updated, this is SketchUp view, 3D perspective SketchUp view, showing the neighboring building and the cornice of their building. You know, we would keep the extension and shave it only a little bit in the back so that the facades met. And that's it. I'll go back to the thank you.
Great.
So I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Okay, well, I'll just start with at our little committee meeting last week, there was 3 committee members and they are in support. But I know that Alex, you might want to have some specific comments to add to that.
Yes, Jennifer, thank you for taking into consideration that historic cornice of the adjacent building at 937, and whether it was HPO's suggestion to try to keep as much of it as possible or your own. I think it's appreciated. I think it alleviates some concerns that I have been hearing from some of the folks on the block. So I think that you've got a project that that everyone can be proud of, and we look forward to seeing it become a reality soon.
Okay, well, thank you.
Any other commissioners?
I did get a letter. Dr. David Salter was not able to stay on, so I would like to read his letter that he shared in support of 933. And then I do know there are a few constituents on who might want to also add comments. But these are remarks from Dr. David Salter, who lives in Naylor Court, is a very well local respected historian. He says, I like the iterative process that the architects for 933 N Street have gone through. They've connected with the community in a very real and open ways. I support this project enthusiastically. My concerns originally had been the following. One, the interconnection between the angled mansard roof and the vertical roof of 933 was a little awkward, which is something that has been addressed by their new renderings. The building has also been moved back. HBO suggested the alignment between all the fronts on N Street Northwest, but with the Henrietta to the east of 933, it's not noticeable. Number two, I raised the concern that the garage was small at 1511 and would not fit a normal sedan whose average width is 16.7. A neighborhood developer said that the rich people drive small cars, a specious statement. Three, I like how 933 bookends with the building at 927 N Street. Its rear section height is proportionate to its width. And four, the problem presented by the cornice has been nicely solved by essentially incorporating it into the design of the new building and aligned with the horizontal line that wraps the new building as a nod to Robert Venturi. And number five, the White House to the west was built in 1873, whereas 933 was built about 10 years later in 1873. So it came up under the west cornice. They faced that same problem in the past and came up with a similar solution, which is incorporation. So enthusiastic letter of support from Dr. David Salter here in 2G04.
Thank you very much.
So I'm going to read John Shaw's statement. He couldn't make our meeting last week, but just so he's heard, he said, regarding the N Street project, I do not agree with the size and design of the center windows fronting N Street. The windows should be more conventionally historic. The same amount of glass should be possible, but not just divided as shown, perhaps divided in 4 equal windows per floor. Regarding the night, okay, that's it. That's for N Street. So that's his thing for N Street.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the comment. Yes.
Anyone else before I open it up to the public? No. Okay. Anyone else on the audience side have a comment about 930? Oh, good. Frank De Lima. Okay, Frank. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for allowing us the opportunity. Thank our ANC Commissioner McCarty for working with our community. I live at 927 N Street, right next to the Henrietta, and 2 doors down from the proposed project. And on behalf of myself and my neighbors, who I think also are participating in the meeting and are supportive and will weigh in, we strongly support what's being proposed by the architectural firm. We think it will not only enhance our community, but we think that aesthetically it will make our community much better rather than what is currently there at the empty lot. And want to thank also the architects for addressing the issues as we had in terms of trash service and some of the other issues we've raised. My issue in general is specific to the city, and I'm not sure if this is the right forum, but you know, just this past week we had the Department of Water who tore up the streets and the sidewalks right in front of the Henrietta, in front of our building. You know, basically just put gravel rather than actual cement. Is there anything that can be done as it relates to the city to repair the sidewalks? Because that's really impacted, I think, not only the Henrietta, but this project, but our neighborhood. So I wanted to ask if there's anything that can be done on that front.
Is that a question for me or for the ANC?
For the ANC,
Okay.
we support what you all are doing.
Okay, yes, sir.
Hi, Frank. I'll take this one if you don't mind, Commissioner Nigro. So I did connect with the mayor's office on this. DDOT is the next line of defense for sidewalk repairs. I know that's not really an answer that folks would like to hear, considering DDOT usually takes 2+ years to do any sidewalk maintenance. But I know that the owners of the property are really looking to enhance the curb space, and I'm working with Jenny and the team to get in touch with them to see if there are any private partnerships we can hopefully form with the owner to maybe expedite some of the street and especially the sidewalk repairs, because unfortunately, I can't really say we're not going to be waiting for DDOT a long time. It's just the sad reality of that agency at this moment. But you know, I'm happy to work with whomever I can to help get the curb appeal enhanced along with these new projects coming to our neighborhood.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you all. Like, we're excited about this project. And like I said, we're very supportive, and what we think what's been proposed will make our community better. So just wanted to thank you all for that.
Thank you.
Frank,
Thank you.
Commissioner Barry, you had something?
Right. I just wanted to respond in regards to DDOT. Every request takes at least 130 days. So I was told that information, so maybe that'll help set some type of expectation for us in the future.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions before Commissioner McCarty makes the motion?
Robert Goldberg, did you want to speak? I know you sent some chats. Robert also sent me a letter of support from his residents. Their residence is actually directly to the rear, so alley facing neighbors, if you will. And so they are a directly adjacent neighbor. Robert's just continuing to say he's excited about the project in the chat, so as all of our neighbors are. And with that, I would like to move that Advisory Neighborhood Commission 2G supports the application for the Historic Preservation Review Board for 933 N Street, located in Single Member District 2G04. And I'd like to make sure this motion is based on the application's alignment with community's historical preservation standards, as well as their feedback.
Seconded.
Okay, moved and second, Alex seconded. All in favor? Raise your hand, voice yes.
Aye.
All in for aye. Okay, great. Motion passes.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer, for zooming in. Thanks, community.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, super. Okay, now another thing for Commissioner McCarty. It's 1322 9th Street Northwest, HPRB.
So we
have for
are
that.
moving.
Oh, there she is.
So this next one is for 1322 9th Street Northwest. This is a revised HPRB application for the same property that Katerina and Architectural submitted earlier, I believe in February of 2023, so about a year ago. They got that application all the way to the Historic Preservation and Review Board, but withdrew because of some community concerns. Happy to have them back because they have addressed many of those community concerns, including receiving a letter of support from their adjacent neighbor, the esteemed designer, Daryl Carter. And so again, another gravel infill lot backing into Naylor Court that for the most part, neighbors have suggested they're extremely happy to have filled in. I won't steal too much of Katerina's thunder, but if you could walk us quickly through the project again, any modifications you've made based off of community feedback, and speak to some of the feedback you've heard over the last few weeks, I would be greatly appreciative.
And if you need to share your screen, go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all again. Just 1 second and I will get the drawings on the screen. Okay. As Commissioner McCarthy stated, this project has been presented before, and it was about a year ago. It was voted on by the ANC and was reviewed by the HPRB at a hearing on March 30th. At that hearing, no vote was taken, but the HPRB did express support for the massing and scale of the building and deferred voting on the proposed design to the April hearing. And between the March 30th hearing and the April hearing, we revised the design, and that's what you're going to see here for the most part. Then at the just before the April hearing took place, there was a letter of concern that came from the neighbor immediately to the south, Daryl Carter, who had not been properly notified by the previous applicant who was purchasing the property. Since then, a new buyer has come into play and is now looking to purchase the property, and it's under contract. And that developer has made a much bigger effort to coordinate with the community, including Daryl Carter. And we met with Daryl Carter several times and were able to successfully address his concerns. And that's what I will be presenting today, really, what was changed. But I will go through an overview of the building as a whole for those who are not familiar with it in the audience or may not have seen the initial presentation. So the building proposed will be located at 1322 9th Street, which is the large parking lot sort of in the middle of the block along 9th and backing onto Naylor Court. It happens to be the largest lot in that block. And as a result, obviously the building is going to be a significantly sized building as well. So in terms of zoning, the maximum allowable on this lot, given the size of the lot, is a fairly large building. So then our challenge became how to make that building compatible with the fabric adjacent to it. Just so happens that in addition to being a very large lot, this lot also sits between two very different halves of the block. We have a more commercial half to the south with buildings that are 4 stories tall in some cases and occupy 100% of the lot, and close to 100%. And then to the north, we have row homes or multi-unit buildings that look like row homes, are smaller in scale, but still significant enough to have a strong presence on the street. And they are also 3.5, nearly 4 stories tall. Actually, from a zoning perspective, they are 4 stories tall. In terms of character, also, they are very different architecturally. The buildings to the south tend to have commercial show windows. The buildings to the north are more residential in nature, bay windows, entry stoops. So these are some photos of the Naylor Court side. And I will move on to describing our building and how it relates to the neighboring fabric in terms of massing. And then I will move on to the facade, which again had been previously reviewed by HPRB. The building previously had a dumbbell shape with 2 side yards in the middle. Through our meetings with Daryl Carter and coordination with him, we carved away along the south side of the building in order to allow more light to penetrate into his courtyard, which is completely enclosed. And as a result, we have a side yard that extends almost to the front of the building, 24 feet, 10.5 away, which also helps to preserve an at-risk window on his building at that location. So basically that entire south end of the building is open, with the exception of a couple of volumes that protrude into it that are lower in height than the rest of the building. So this is the outcome of our coordination with the property owner at 1320. In terms of floor plans, there are 40 units in the building. Someone brought up a concern about trash management. I wanted to point out that we do have a trash room in the building, and there's a shaft that goes through all the floors above. And there's also a designated trash area adjacent to the parking at the rear. And there may be a need for a compactor in addition, because this is 40 units and there is very limited space on the exterior of the building to accommodate trash management. But just a quick point about that to address that comment. but I will move on to the facade, which is really where this all comes together. So our challenge was, how do we break down a building that by zoning is allowed to be this big on a lot that is already twice the size of the lots on this block? How do we break this down so that it fits in? Not just from a historic preservation standpoint, but just from a human architectural standpoint, from a streetscape standpoint, from a contextual standpoint, all of which reinforces historic preservation guidelines and requirements. So they all work together. So again, to the south, we have marching down commercial bay windows that have a certain geometry. Sometimes, quite often, the first floor is much taller than the levels above. As you can see, the building immediately to the south, which is Daryl Carr's building, there's a first floor that is almost a story and a half. Then to the north, we have our row houses with bay windows and entry stoops. So what we have tried to accomplish here is to bridge between these two halves, these two very distinct halves in terms of character and scale, and try to overlap the character of both of them onto one building. To that effect, we have first and foremost looked at horizontal datums, alignments across the block, and you can see that there's a pretty strong, although not perfectly aligned, but there's a pretty strong horizontal line between the commercial and more residential uses on the buildings to the south. So we have carried that through to our building, about 75% of it at the first floor level with a different material planned for this lower half. And I'll show you a colored version of that. And then at the last quarter of the building, we are actually replicating the bay windows in terms of character with, well, character, not detailing, but in terms of presence on the street, rhythm and width and scale. And then we are taking the bay windows again and marching them down the upper portion of the building to, again, try to weave these two. It's a very simple concept. We're just trying to weave these two halves together. In addition, in recognition of the fact that this building is also taller than the buildings immediately adjoining it, we have changed the material of the top story of the building in terms of its color and texture, and I'll show you an image of that as well. The building also has a penthouse that is set back as required from the sides. There will be some relief required from BZA for the setback on the south side, where we're proposing 5 feet instead of 10 from the actual edge of the roof, given that we're already 13 foot 10 and a half from the property line. Here's a larger view of the facade. As I mentioned, images of the materials. First story being demarcated with a dark brick that will, again, provide that alignment with the context to the south and refer to the scale of the commercial buildings on that half of the block. And then our bay windows will be clad in a black painted cement board or metal. That's to be determined. And again, the breaking down of the scale in terms of height by using a different material at the top and it's a corrugated cement board. I call it corrugated, whatever the official name might be, I'm not sure. And then a smooth cement board on the remaining of the facade. The corrugated material also implies a mansard roof, which is a very traditional component in a lot of row homes throughout the city. And I should mention also exists on there's also a differentiated upper story on the row homes to the north. So that's also a reference to that. So the sort of horizontal band across the top. So these are just architectural moves, let's say, that we use to try to break down the scale of this building and try to integrate it with the fabric. This design was not reviewed by the HPRB at a hearing because they had actually placed it on the consent calendar for approval. So I did not receive feedback from the HPRB board on this design, but we did receive notification that it was on the consent calendar and the staff report was very much in favor of it. Section through the building, that is just for information purposes. Here's a 3D view that helps to bring it all together. As you can see, here's our carved out side yard along the south side to try to break down the scale on that side facing Daryl Carter's building. and that building also occupies nearly 100% of the lot, which is part of the reason why that courtyard in the interior is so precious to him. Now, there have been some comments that I received about the scale of the building compared to specifically the row houses to the north. So I just want to make some points about that for the sake of information and to fully address the concerns raised. So I'm going to go back to the site plan just for a second, just so that we understand the scale, the difference in scale between the south end of the block and the north end of the block. This doesn't show the property lines, but as you can see, it's pretty clear that buildings to the south are much larger in scale, and the lots themselves are much larger. The lots to the north basically end at the edge of this row house and come straight down. So these are much smaller lots by far than the lots to the south. One comment that was brought up by a neighbor was whether we had taken into consideration the shading that this building would cause onto the rear yards of the row houses to the north. And, my response was, well, there was no shade study prepared, so it's not something that was used to evaluate the design or as a tool for the design, because the reality is this condition is being created by the enormous difference in scale between these two lots, right? So a larger building from a zoning standpoint per the zoning regulations can accommodate a larger lot can accommodate a larger building. A smaller lot can accommodate a smaller building. In terms of density, these row homes may be higher density than this building in terms of lot occupancy and how the gross floor area actually compares to the size of the lot. Our building is within the limits of the zoning regulations in terms of FAR, in terms of height, in terms of rear yard, it exceeds it. In terms of lot occupancy, the existing carriage house is the only thing that puts it over the allowable lot occupancy, and that will be part of the BZA case that you will be reviewing at a later date. So everything about this building is within the confines of the zoning regulations in terms of its size, in terms of its height, etc. So my response to that concerned neighbor was really, I'm sorry, but this is really the outcome of the size of the lot, and the reality is, and even if it were two separate lots, given its length, the same exact density would be built on this site. That's really the only concern that I recall. Overall, we have received support from neighbors. We have received some letters of support, and I, even the first time that the project had been presented, it had been well received by the neighborhood as well. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, great. Well, just a bit for our little committee meeting last week, they were in support of the project. But Commissioner McCarty, do you want to, this one we just got something in the chat too. You want to address that?
Yes, so I have a couple letters of support and one letter of opposition that I wanted to just read to enter into the record. And then maybe some other folks have questions. I know Robert is still on and he's been making some comments, but let me read this letter really quickly, and let me share my screen because it is a lengthy one, but so this is from from four neighbors in the row houses to the immediate north of the proposal. So, dear Historic Preservation Review Board, we're each the owners of the historic townhouses on the southwest corner of 9th and O Street Northwest, adjacent to 1322 9th Street Northwest, and right to express a significant reservation with the revised application submitted January at that address. The proposed construction is disproportionately taller than the adjacent historic row houses to a degree that threatens the historic preservation of Naylor Court and its historic homes like ours. A revision from the proposed current height of 54 feet to the height of the townhouses that it borders, or even a 47, the height of the most recent and nearest small construction approved by HPRB at 1318 9th 9th Street would address their concern. We're generally supportive of the revised application, but the current proposed height of the construction undercuts the history of Naylor Court and the surrounding townhouses that the proposed construction would dwarf. The proposed construction includes a 10-foot penthouse that would bring the building to 54 feet. This is significantly higher than the townhouses bordering the construction to the north and would disrupt what has been a stable roofline for decades. It also risks casting a shadow on the historic townhouses and their yards, including ours at the southwest corner of 9th and O Street Northwest. Moreover, Naylor Court is known for its historic stables and tranquil alleys. A penthouse standing 54 feet tall is effectively a sentry tower that would look down to the alley and contravenes Naylor Court's historic sheltered aesthetic and atmosphere. We are aware that there are taller buildings in the surrounding vicinity, including the Cambria Hotel in Perla, DC, but these constructions, which were built in the last 15 years, were not then and not now adjacent to any historic townhouses like 1322 9th Street Northwest is. They're also across the street and not part of Naylor Court's Historic Preservation District. The height standard for this new construction should consider the height of the adjacent townhomes to the north and on the alley to the west. Indeed, our understanding is the closest and most similar construction that the HPRB recently approved was in the area of 1318 9th Street Northwest, whose concept plan indicates a 47-foot roof and 50 maximum allowable height. In our view, a construction adjacent to a row of townhouses and their yards should at most be the same, if not shorter, than the height of that construction. The increased height of this building runs a much greater risk of casting a shadow on these townhouses and adversely affecting the appearance of these historic buildings. Accordingly, we recommend that the HPRB condition approval of the application on a height that it is the same as the adjacent townhouses or as 1318 9th Street Northwest in order to retain the historic qualities of Naylor Court and surrounding streets. We will also state for awareness that we did not receive any outreach from the applicant and was only made aware of the revised application from neighbors and the ANC. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. The 4 signatories are at the bottom. So while I take a breath and maybe a sip of water, Rochelle, Robert Goldberg does have his hand up. So if we want to move him over and let him
All
speak.
right, so let's get Robert to, or commissioners, do you have anything to say before I let Robert speak? Commissioner Berry?
I remember your project from March, and I wanted to ask some questions about the parking situation. Has that improved or?
Well, the parking situation is really a result of the existing carriage house being maintained. So there's no way to accommodate more parking spaces on the lot while keeping the existing carriage house. The current purchaser of the lot has decided to pursue BZA relief from the parking requirements. When the case was presented last year, we had indicated that parking would be secured within 600 feet, which is allowable per the zoning regulations. So it doesn't have to be on the property, but within 600 feet also meets the requirement. This purchaser has decided to pursue BZA relief as an option instead of providing parking elsewhere in the neighborhood. And that BZA case has been filed, but it's still going through the review, the preliminary review process, and it will be presented to you once it has been accepted and becomes a formal case.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Alex, go ahead.
So yes, 2 points. One, related to the parking relief that is being sought. I would suggest, Ms. Burr, that your client be aware that this commission and its predecessors has been very firm in insisting on other alternative parking being provided rather than relief being granted. So just giving you a warning, I want you or your client to be taken by surprise by that.
Thank you.
So, but to the design, thank you for having been so sensitive, both you and your client, to Daryl Carter's concerns, which were raised during the previous approval process. That was something that that I think that all involved do really appreciate. That a world-class designer like Mr. Carter has been accommodated, by some rather deft and appropriate nuances in your design. But more importantly, once again, with this design, as with your previous design, you taken on the challenge of trying to mediate the differences in the types of buildings to the north and to the south, and the treatments of their facades. Again, congratulations on coming up with something that works for the block, and surprisingly has gotten quite a bit of support, from adjacent neighbors, despite some other concerns that have been raised from previous designs. So congratulations on progress so far, and congratulations on getting HPRB to put it on the consent agenda, which basically means it's a done deal.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're gonna go over to Robert Goldberg here. Go ahead, Robert.
Hi there, how are you? Katarina, thank you so much again. We haven't talked in a while. For those of you that don't know, when we were under ANC 2F, this project actually was proposed as a project that also involved the lot that includes the blue freestanding carriage house, which was planned to be a multi-100-room hotel with rooftop bar. And what I will say is during that period, and again, it was at the very quote unquote beginning of COVID, we did bring the cohort of neighbors together. We didn't have ANC support. And we actually were able to get the developer at the time to understand what we needed on this block. Historically, prior to that, there were propositions for a beer garden, dacha, and all of this. And I will say that based on the massing of the Henrietta, the Atlantic, and again, being a multicultural block of different types of personalities, this building fits right in as a residential opportunity. For those on the north side of O Street, which I've expressed directly to those residents, those that are new would know that what was proposed prior was very different, but we do live in a mixed development block, and we have to be acceptable of buildings that are not necessarily in a residential area in terms of being in a suburb. So I absolutely support this project. Katarina and team have always been amazing with us. And Katarina, you know what we dealt with across with Maxwell's, and I can't thank you more enough to be such a partner in listening to Daryl and all of the neighbors. You've been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. And thank you for bringing up the fact that this has been going on for a while, and discussions with the community have been going on literally for years, which I should have mentioned, but failed to do so. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? No, I think that's it. Okay, Commissioner McCarty, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, before I do that, I'm not going to read them, but I will note I have two other letters of support. One that we already mentioned from Daryl Carter, who is at 1320 9th Street Northwest, so the property directly south of this project. And I have a letter of support from Dr. Dave Salter again. I won't read those out just to give everybody some time back, but were additional letters of support entered for us, and we'll make sure those get shared with HPRB as well. With that, I move that ANC 2G support the revised Historic Preservation Review Board application for this site at 1322 9th Street Northwest in ANC 2G04.
Seconded.
Okay, Alex seconds. Any additional comments? No? Okay. All in favor? Yeah, aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins? Okay, motion passes. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for zooming in. Okay, all right. Okay, we're still in Commissioner McCarty's area. Now we're on Your Only Friend at 1114 9th Street Northwest. This is for the renewal of their Class C tavern license. And Commissioner McCarty, there was a question whether they were going to be able to make it tonight or not because of what's going on at the restaurant.
Yes, so hi everyone, I'll take this one and hopefully make this quick. But so Your Only Friend is a brand new restaurant that opened in 2G04 on 9th Street just a few weeks ago. They have already received pretty outstanding success with the community. They sold out of 8 sandwiches in 7 days during their first week. So really excited to see the outpouring of support. This is a business that is also not especially new to 2G04 and to Blagden Alley, Naylor Court, and Shepherd Court, because the owners used to run the Columbia Room, which is now Death and Co. So they're no strangers to the neighborhood. And so I've done a lot of community outreach. Folks have been excited to welcome them to the community. A lot of the issues that we normally see with some of these licenses, especially in Shepherd Court and Blagden Alley, are issues with trash and noise. But the good news is that they're actually part of the Marriott courtyard, so their trash gets contained and all of that noise and everything sticks within the hotel. So overall, really excited to welcome them to the community. And I will say that we were discussing a settlement agreement. They currently have one on file, and right now we've come to the understanding that that foots the bill right now. But if any constituents raise any concerns, we will amend that settlement agreement immediately, and I have their commitment to that. So I would like to move that we.
Wait, let's see if anyone has any comments.
Any comments?
Alex, do you have any comments?
Yes, so at the ABC committee meeting last Thursday, the committee did recommend support for this renewal. Actually, it's one of those situations that we've encountered a number of times when a business, even though it's just recently opened, had applied for their license in a different cycle. So this license now has to be renewed, even though they just recently done their operations. But we did raise the issue of updating the settlement agreement, if for no other reason than to have the correct name of the business reflected. The developer, Quadrangle, had basically been the signator to the settlement agreement. So the approval was, contained the understanding that the settlement agreement would be updated. So I would recommend that that go ahead and take place. It's just an administrative function, but once again, I think it's better just to have everything be very transparent.
Okay, great. Anyone from the public have anything to say about this? The renewal? Raise your virtual hand or press star 9 if you're on the phone. Nope. Okay, Commissioner McCarty.
Thanks, Commissioner Nigro. I would like to move that an Advisory Neighborhood Commission 2G support the renewal of Class C tavern license for Your Only Friend at, let me pull up the address, at 1114 9th Street Northwest.
Seconded.
Okay, Alex seconds. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, great. Motion passes. Okay, super. Yay, Your Only Friend. All right, next we have Chill Tobacco, and I think Barry here. I see a little Chill Tobacco on his name. Hi, Barry. Go ahead and mute yourself, Barry.
Hello.
So this is Chill Tobacco at 1314 9th Street. Their request for support for medical cannabis retailer license. And Commissioner McCarty, would you like to tee us up with this, please?
Yeah, so Chill Tobacco has been operating as an I-71 gifting shop in ANC 2G04, specifically in Naylor Court, for a number of years now. We conducted community feedback, and generally everybody said they're really quiet. We have no complaints. I will admit I got one kind of funny comment. Maybe you could tone down the neon signs in the window, but overall everybody said that your business operations have not negatively impacted anybody's life. And so they are applying to transition from an I-71 gifting shop to an ABCA certified and regulated medical cannabis retailer. I'll say that from my community outreach, folks are in support, and Chill Tobacco has agreed to enter into a settlement agreement with us that is identical, besides name, to the settlement agreement 2G04 and 2G entered into with Don Fuego our most recent other medical cannabis retailer license. So they are agreeing to meet the community standards that constituents in 2G04 have already kind of consolidated around.
Okay, Barry, do you have anything to say?
No, we're excited for our transition into the medical program, and we're looking forward to serving the community patients in our neighborhood. So it's exciting times for us. We've been a part of the community for a few years now, and look forward to everything that's coming in the future.
Okay, Alex?
To Commissioner McCarty, per the discussion with the licensee at the committee's meeting last week, they had agreed that sales would end at 9 p.m. Has that been reflected in the settlement agreement?
Yes, it is. I'm trying to actually pull that up so I can show folks. But yes, that is.
Right. So the committee did recommend unanimously support for this application.
Okay, great. Any other questions from the commissioners? No? Okay. Anyone from the other side have a question about chill tobacco? Raise your virtual hand or press *9 for the person that's on the phone. No. All right. Okay, Commissioner McCarty.
I move that Advisory Neighborhood Commission 2G support the medical cannabis application for chill tobacco at 1314 9th Street Northwest.
Seconded.
Okay, Alex seconds. Any other further discussion? Commissioners, no? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Ms. Watkins?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, great. Thank you, Barry, for zooming in.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, and lastly, very patient, we have Vince, who is going to give us an update on the Carter G. Woodson home. Where's Vince? Hi, Vince. Go ahead and mute yourself. Hi.
Hello.
How's
Hello.
it going?
Going great, going great. So I got a little bit of laryngitis here, but the show will go on. So the Carter G. Woodson home, one we're in the home stretch. We're looking at fall, sometime in the fall for the grand opening. So stay tuned. You'll see a lot of activity going on around the home as we speak. They're putting a lot of the systems in, finishing up the duct work, a few delays relating to the duct work, but we're really happy that we're looking at a fall opening. Having said that, we are in Black History Month. So a few big things that are coming up this Saturday at the Arc at 2:00. We're honoring Frederick Douglass with Frederick Douglass's birthday. And so that's one way to kind of get into the spirit of the month. However, on the 17th, not this coming Saturday, but the following one, we're going to have our annual Walk with Woodson. And our own ANC and historian Alex Padro will be part of that. That's going to be 10:30, starting at the Mary McLeod Bethune Council House, National Historic Site. And we'll walk to the Woodson home. The whole thing will be about 45 minutes, and we'll warm up at Shiloh Church. And we have an actor, Darius Wallace, who's really good, and he portrays Dr. Woodson. And he actually does a first-person portrayal. And what we did was we got Dr. Woodson's letters and written speeches and memoirs, and we made this soliloquy for him. So as you go through the Shaw and Logan Circle neighborhoods, you're actually hearing it in Dr. Woodson's words. So the 17th, 10:30 at Mary McLeod Bethune Council House. This is going to be like people go to New York to see the ball coming down. This is going to be the DC thing. You know, Black History Month with Dr. Woodson, the creator of Negro History Week, which became Black History Month. And then, of course, the Carter G. Woodson home is the birthplace of Black History Month. I mean, that's exactly where he created it in 1926. So you can go to our websites and it's all there.
Okay. So Vince, do you guys, I think I saw you do use social media, because this sounds like a good thing to promote. Is this on social media yet or no?
It is. Yeah, you could go to our social media on our our Facebook for the Woodson or the Frederick Douglass
Okay.
sites, and it's all there.
Okay, good. I will be happy to promote. That sounds like a good time.
I'll put some of it in the chat too.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners? Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, not a question, but thank you, Vince, for your annual visit to ANC 2G to update us on the status of the Woodson Home. We're sorry that the schedule has slipped again. We were getting excited about a summer opening, but it is what it is. Good things are worth waiting for. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware, as Vince did raise, that not only is the Woodson Home the place where Dr. Woodson lived and worked in the researching and promoting of African American history, for more than 2 decades, but that we also do have one of the only parks with a commemorative statue to a famous African American in our midst, and that's the Woodson Park that's a few steps away. So, in which you can see the statue and my background here on Zoom. But we're looking forward to being able to welcome the many tens of thousands of visitors that will be coming to ANC 2G02 starting this fall to learn more about Dr. Woodson, African American history, and American history.
Great. Go ahead, Commissioner Berry.
Sorry, my computer is doing something weird right now, but is there a cost associated with this?
No, that's the best thing. It's all free.
Okay, thank you.
You love free. Okay, anyone from the audience have a question about this fantastic event and future home? I mean, it's gonna be great. We've been waiting a very long time. No?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. You're trying to take a building that was built 150 years ago for a single family and integrate it as a modern 21st century museum.
I think people that live across the street will be very happy. It's finally done. Oh, is there more? Anyone, you guys have some more? Alex?
Yeah, just one more question, Vince. We talked about the graffiti on the 3rd floor facing Q Street. Is there an update on the abatement there?
Yeah, last week they said they were sending a team out to take care of it. So I'll follow up on that. It should be gone, or they should be doing it like yesterday.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks.
All right, Vince, I think that's it. Thank you for zooming in with us.
Thank you for having me.
And that's fantastic. Good luck with the events, okay?
Indeed.
Come back when it's open or right before it's open.
Let's do that. Let's do that. It's going to be a real epic thing. So yeah.
It's like New Year's, what'd you say? It's like New Year's Eve, right?
Well, you're our neighbors. We want to make sure that you get to see the place.
All right. We're excited.
All right.
Take care. Have a good night.
Righto.
Okay, so now we've got administrative matters. We're going to do approval of minutes first. And everyone has been sent the minutes by Karen. Any additions?
I'll move that we approve the minutes of the January 11th, 2024 meeting with any corrections submitted to the prepared minutes.
Okay.
A second.
Okay, Ms. Watkins seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Great. Super. Okay, so we know that Tony's not here tonight, and so I didn't receive any other expenses except for Karen. Am I missing anything? No? Okay. So Alex, let me ask you this. So when we did the debit card for the Zoom, you had motion for this month, last month, or?
No, Tony always approves the current month's expenditure because the bills come on the 1st of the month.
Because I think with the debit card, we have to actually motion ahead it before we actually use it.
Okay, then we
Okay,
certainly.
I think this is what I think this is what I'm learning due to the lawyer stuff. So, okay, so I'm gonna do a motion for this month and next month for the debit card for this meeting, for the Zoom meeting. And so I move that ANC 2G approve use of the debit card for the Zoom meeting for this month and for March of 2024. Each month is $100.62.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. And then for this lawyer, for the jail, this lawyer probably thinks she's never gonna get paid for her retainer fee. But there were some emails back and forth, and now the official procedure is we have to pay the lawyer, not them, and we're gonna do it via the debit card. So I have to do a motion for that. So I move that ANC 2G pay via debit card $1,500 to Donahue Themac Miller PLC for the retainer fee for counsel for 501 New York Avenue Northwest.
Seconded.
Okay,
And
Alex,
also wanted to make sure that that everyone saw, the members of the commission saw that the Office of ANCs is supposed to be transferring the funds for that grant into our bank.
Correct. Yes, that's right. So we're gonna pay, how that works, that we pay them, then they pay us back via our account. All right, Alex seconds. Any other questions about this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Great. The lawyer gets paid. She's probably like, what is going on over there? Okay, and then lastly, we have Karen's for doing the meeting for the recording. It's $275. So I move that Karen Yaley get paid $275 for the meeting minutes for the February ANC 2G meeting.
Seconded.
Alex seconds. Any questions? No. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Okay, Karen gets paid. Hooray. Okay. Any other expenses before we call it a day? I don't have any of Tony's information. This is all I got, is just what we're gonna pay out. No? Okay. All right, so I move that ANC 2G, we adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting will be on March 14th. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, all right. Motion passes. Aye. Everyone all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, everyone. Okay, this was great. And then the recording, whoever asked me about the recording, I put it on YouTube. Okay, thanks for attending, everyone that's left, and we'll see you March 14th. And listen to this, the hearing for the jail is March 13th. So either I'm going to be very sad or very happy. There's not much in between. There's no middle ground. Either we got it or we don't. If we do not get it with the zoning, more than likely that project will move forward. This is the catalyst. So let's keep pray for me.
Well,
right,
Rochelle,
guys?
you may not have an answer at the hearing. You know, the zoning bodies generally are deliberative, and they accept filings after the hearing and then take future action. So you may not know the next day.
Well, I can't take it anymore. So we'll see. All right, wish me luck, and you guys watch it on television or whatever on the computer. All right, bye guys. Take care. Everyone be safe. See you next month. Bye. Bye.
Black History Month.
Black History Month. Yay. Bye.